Hey, Marshy, sup? You should rank marketing channels from 2015 as listed in the book Traction, but rank them in 2025 against the tier list. Let's do it. All right, I'm going to make this tier list. So, based in 2025, engineering as marketing, definitely S tier. It's now go to market engineering, and the capabilities with AI and tools are second to none. The fact that this was a concept 10 years ago doesn't surprise me, but it's hotter than ever. Speaking engagements, I think that in the book they were talking about like at shows and events and expos and things, but I see this with podcasts. And so, they've grown and exploded massively over the last 10 years. And no matter what startup your niche is in, you will be able to find speaking engagements, provided you're interesting and not a potato, relatively easily. And talk at length about yourself, your brand, and your product, and get business that way, which is really effective for early stage startups. Content marketing, I think we'll put here for now. Look at the trend line of HubSpot's growth in 2015 compared to today. They wrote the playbook on content marketing and made it a thing. And it's definitely up there in the growing stakes. With startups in particular, they can over focus on content and not get seen by enough eyeballs. But I still think it's really effective, particularly in B2B. Viral marketing, it's a fad. There's definitely ways to grow your organic socials and get hype and buzz. But as a concept, just going viral for the sake of it is a great way to get views and eyeballs, not a great way to get customers. And so it goes down there in the D list. Affiliate, I'm going to place it here for now. I think it's very popular in the US, and you can certainly negotiate terms in any sort of deal where you clip the ticket and reward the person for giving you the business. Definitely less prolific in Australia. And what tends to happen, it can be on shaky ground and scammy. So, generally a later stage marketing tactic as an extension channel for outside your main channels for driving growth, but that's why it's sort of low on the C list. Blogging, I'm going to put it at C tier. It might be trending up again. Certainly video blogs are growing increasingly popular, and YouTube's going berserk right now. So I'll put blogs in C. PR, I think it deserves to go in C as well. It is generally related to funding rounds. It can be used tactically to extend SEO and help you rank. But I think most, especially first-time founders or novice founders, will over-focus on PR and what news clippings they have at the expense of growing their customer base. So definitely deserves a spot there. Events, for an early stage startup, I really encourage founders to go hard at events. Even just showing up at farmers markets with your product, if it's B2C, can be really helpful. And the reason why is because you're not hiding behind a computer. You're actually showing your product to people and getting face-to-face reactions that are authentic and real. And so if someone thinks your product's not interesting, they'll show you with disinterest. And I think that early feedback is helpful unto itself, but also you can also grow and get customers this way by putting them on a list. You're making sales there and then and building your CRM. So I think events are heavily under leveraged for early stage startups, particularly for B2C. Email it was good back then. It's even better now. Email for any digital marketer worth their salt is still the highest conversion channel, second to none. On a warmed up list, you can sell a product at 20, 30, 50% of the whole list, depending on the price and how warm they are. Email is just the bones of how to build and grow a startup predictably. It's definitely S tier. The capabilities with outbound in the last few years has gone berserk. I think we're seeing a bit of contraction now as people realize that they're replying to AI generated emails that sound like dog shit. They're less effective, but if you are authentic and know what you're doing and be precise, nothing beats email for getting a result and predictable outcome. Search ads, I'm gonna chuck C tier because they're so damn expensive. Actually, don't see. I'd probably put social ads in this bucket, maybe B as well. But yeah, are very, very expensive. And the problem with search ads, generally, it's a specific intent search term. So, say I'm looking for vegan dog biscuits and type that into Google, and you serve and show vegan dog biscuits and it's a paid ad, and I click on it and I can buy my vegan dog biscuits, fantastic. But the reality is, for startups, most customers aren't at that bottom tier of awareness that are actually actively looking for your product or a version of your product. They're generally further up the stages of awareness. So they might not even know they have a problem. Search ads aren't going to help then. Or they might be looking for solutions, but the terms they're searching for are really expensive. And so it's hard to do search ads predictably and profitably as a startup. And to build on this, you're competing with companies that have war chests that, 10, 100, 1,000 times the size of yours, and you're competing against that. So, if you're going to pay $10 plus per click, you better hope to high heavens that it's going to convert for you. And getting a high converting landing page just out of the gate as a startup, it's a fool's errand. Stunts, I'm just going to chuck here as well. Reason being, they're not super predictable. There's nothing wrong with a Hail Mary that can step change the trajectory of your startup. Problem is, most startups think they can do this, and the reality is all they're doing is talking about them and their product, and not enough on being entertaining or the things that make stunts interesting. Actually, we'll go to community. Community is so hot right now. It only continues to grow hotter. I'm guilty of thinking communities used to just be bloody, Facebook groups or whatever the hell was going on MySpace. That community has grown so much beyond that. The best startups that are growing at hyperscale all have communities that are active and engaged. And it's become an art form unto itself. And so the best part about a community is generally you've got users of the product, evangelists, and people advocating and referring for you at pace if a community has done well. And that's extremely hard to achieve that sort of organic growth in any other channel on the list. So so hot right now. S tier for sure. SEO, I'm going to chuck in B tier. It's definitely going through a weird wonky stage at the moment. I mentioned YouTube earlier. It is going gangbusters over there. So if you have a niche and ability to create video that's compelling, interesting, and entertaining and educational in your niche, go for it. It's like the halcyon days as SEO, back 10, 15 years ago when, it would work for nearly anything. SEO now requires, patient, diligent approaches. And there's a lot of wonkiness going on with AI and the proliferation of LLMs. I think that's an interesting opportunity unto itself as we start to see traffic originating from LLMs onto pages. I've certainly seen that from a startup I'm advising at the moment. But definitely worth the effort, just not as, I'd say, streaky in return as some of these higher ones. Offline ads, probably going to chuck in C tier here. The reason is offline ads charge a CPM, that's cost per 1,000, say, impressions. It's a fixed thing. It's really expensive for almost any channel, cinema, radio, TV, billboards. And generally you don't want to use it unless you're extending your marketing campaigns as a startup. Like you could do takeovers in a particular city and see if the addition of offline ads in conjunction with everything else you're doing are giving you incremental improvements. But generally experience tells me that they won't. But give it a shot, but not at the expense of some of these other ones. BD, huge, heavy hitter for any startup worth their salt. Wheeling and dealing, creating partnerships, creating win-wins. This is the fuel that can help an engine run. I think, back then it was definitely, one in the higher tiers for a startup, and I think nothing's changed. It's definitely one of the better avenues for growth. I think why it's not S tier, it does rely on a lot of experience from the founder or the founding team to be able to wheel and deal and navigate IP, the startup, the win-wins. You basically need a lot of runs on the board to be able to do that dance. It's hard to do as a sort of up and coming young professional if you don't know what moves are out there on the chessboard. Existing platforms. So this one is, say, Twitter's exploding, and then you put your startup on Twitter while it's exploding. That would obviously help your startup a lot as well. But exploiting platforms that are new is sort of high risk unless you absolutely know your audience and customers are there. And I'm going to chuck that in the C tier. Sales, yeah, founders need to sell. You need to be able to sell and do the dance and convince people in words why they should buy from you. It works. It's top tier. It'll get you your first 5, 10, 20 customers. And it's a superpower. Like, the only thing stopping you from getting more sales is time. If you had unlimited time, you could get these sales. Obviously, it's an art form. It's something you never stop learning, but it's definitely S tier. Or, potentially down here at A tier, if you got the demo approach, you need a lot of discovery. It's hard to get that out of the gates, but yeah, sales is S tier. It fuels all. Trade shows, highly commoditized. So if you want to go to the Home Ec Expo to sell your new blender, your audience is definitely there. But to have a stall might cost you anywhere from $500 to $15,000, and there's sponsorship and all sorts of stuff. Now, if you know your customers and you're going to sell X amount of blenders from doing it, it's absolutely worth doing. I worked with a founder that sells sweary merchandise, and they knew that if they went to the barbecue expo, they could predictably get an outsized amount of revenue that weekend compared to anything else they're doing. So, there's definitely a place for them, but I think trade shows, you want to try some of these first, and go from there. Now, that's the tier list as I see it today. So back in 2015, when this book came out, Traction, these were the different channels, and they actually didn't rank them. They said just pick 3, see if they work, and swap them in and out based as they go. But, with the hundreds of clients that I've worked with over time, I think, definitely look to try some of these more hotter tiers up front first, and then go down to the other ones if things aren't working. But if you looked at these 8 and smash one out of the park, it would step change your growth and help your startup grow. And probably the other part that I'd add is really, it's usually a combination of things. For example, offline ads run with PR, or stunts could work, for example, or sales, with some supporting speaking engagements and content marketing is going to go gangbusters. And obviously, any one of these channels you could spend your whole life trying to learn. So, this tier list is purely subjective, but I hope you enjoyed that. My name's Marshy. You can subscribe to my newsletter, Early Growth School. It's at lukemarshall.net/newsletter. And otherwise, keep an eye out for more videos like this.